Welcome to this deep dive cinematic explainer. I want to take you on a very intense, highly detailed journey today because we have a lot to unpack. For months now, the ending of Spider-Man Brand New Day has been the most fiercely debated, heavily guarded topic among fans. It has completely divided test audiences right down the middle. I'm talking about people walking out of early screenings entirely shocked and, quite frankly, a little heartbroken by what actually unfolds in the final act of this film. So I am going to break down exactly what happens, why it happens, and why this is actually one of the most brilliant, gut-wrenching narrative choices in modern superhero cinema. Let me explain this shocking reality to you step by step, because we are looking at an ending that fundamentally redefines Peter Parker's entire world.
Okay, let's dive into this by first clearing the air, because we have to address the elephant in the room. If you've been on the internet lately, scrolling through forums or social media, you have undoubtedly seen that massive, viral rumor circulating. You know the one? The rumor claiming that Peter Parker actually dies at the end of this story, only to be resurrected by the Venom symbiote in a crazy post-credit scene. People were picturing this epic visual of Peter crawling out of a literal grave, covered in the iconic black suit, perfectly recreating those classic 1980s comic book covers. Well, let me be unequivocally clear with you right now, that is completely false. That rumor is nothing more than a giant, carefully constructed distraction. Look, while it sounds incredibly cool, and obviously we all want to see Venom cross paths with our hero eventually, an ending like that wouldn't inherently divide an audience or cause the kind of controversy we're hearing about. Everyone loves Venom. No, the reality we are dealing with here is much more grounded and infinitely more painful.
I really want you to look at the sheer contrast in storytelling philosophies here. We aren't looking at some giant, explosive CGI spectacle where alien goo magically brings our hero back to life to find another day. The true ending of Brand New Day is rooted in a profound, slow-burn psychological betrayal. It's a tragic ending that reaches all the way back into the massive sacrifice made at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home. It completely shatters the very core relationships that Peter tried so desperately to protect in the first place. This isn't about the physical death of a character, it is about the emotional death of a friendship, and honestly, that hurts so much more.
I want to slow down our pacing right here, because we need to meticulously break down the tragic, chronological sequence of events that forms this ending. Remember, at the end of No Way Home, Doctor Strange's spell made everyone in the entire world, including MJ and Ned, forget who Peter Parker is. Peter chose to walk away, to let them live safe, normal, happy lives. But in the climax of Brand New Day, things go horribly wrong. Peter gets severely injured. In this incredibly desperate life-or-death moment, MJ, who just happens to be with her best friend Ned at the time, makes a split-second instinctual decision to abandon Ned and rush into the danger to help Spider-Man. From that exact moment, Peter makes a monumental, world-shifting decision. He chooses to reveal his identity and restore MJ's memories. But here is the absolute kicker. The exact moment the tragedy is permanently sealed, he does not do the same for Ned. For 6 entire months, Peter and MJ secretly reunite. They start living their lives together again, fully aware of their shared past, going on dates, rebuilding their love. All the while, Ned is left completely alone. He is entirely in the dark, wondering where his best friend MJ is constantly disappearing to, and entirely unaware that his actual best friend, Peter Parker, is right there, purposely excluding him.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the fatal flaw in Peter's master plan. He just assumed Ned would remain a blissful, ignorant civilian perfectly safe from the superhero life. But let me remind you of something absolutely crucial from No Way Home. Ned Leeds possesses innate, natural magical abilities. Without a single day of formal training, this kid was able to pick up a sling ring and open portals across the multiverse. This isn't just a fun little party trick. This is raw, unadulterated chaos magic. And when you possess that kind of untrained, volatile, mystical ability, your mind operates differently. Because it isn't anchored by the intense discipline or the strict ancient rules of the mystic arts, this magic constantly pushes against the boundaries of reality. Ned begins to sense that something is deeply, deeply wrong in his life. His natural magic begins to actively expose the logical holes in Doctor Strange's memory spell. The pieces of his everyday life just don't fit together anymore, and his own magical intuition slowly starts forcing those missing memories to the surface, piercing through the spell all on its own.
I really want you to put yourself inside Ned's psychology for a moment. Just imagine the agonizing realization, the absolute crushing heartbreak when all those years of memories finally rush back into his mind. But they don't come back in some warm, fuzzy, tearful reunion. No, they come back accompanied by the stinging, humiliating realization of the last 6 months. From Ned's perspective, he suddenly realizes his best friend Peter is alive, and that Peter explicitly chose to bring MJ back into the fold, but looked at Ned and decided he just wasn't worth the risk. Or even worse, decided decided he wasn't important enough to include. Ned feels entirely betrayed. He feels like Peter literally stole his old life back with MJ, who, let's remember, is also Ned's closest friend right now, and intentionally left him completely behind to rot in ignorance. That level of hurt isn't just sad, it is completely catastrophic to a person's soul.
The birth of the Hobgoblin.
This isn't just a sad ending for this specific movie. It is the definitive, catalytic moment that sets up the ultimate villain for Spider-Man 5. We are literally witnessing the tragic origin story of the Hobgoblin. And the absolutely crucial point here is that this fits perfectly into the grand, tragic tapestry of Spider-Man cinema. There is an inescapable, almost cosmic pattern that defines Peter Parker across the entire multiverse. His best friend inevitably becomes his most dangerous enemy. I mean, think about it. In 2002, Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker had to watch his best friend, Harry Osborn, slowly descend into madness and become the new Goblin. In 2014, Andrew Garfield's Peter watched his best friend, Harry Osborn, turn into the Green Goblin. And now, in the present MCU, it is Tom Holland's turn to face the music. His best friend, Ned Leeds, is fulfilling that exact dark cinematic destiny. But instead of taking up the Green Goblin mantle, Ned is carving out his own terrifying, unique legacy as the Hobgoblin.
I want us to play detective for a second, because the signs have been heavily foreshadowed right in front of our eyes for years now. Let me show you how brilliantly this has been set up behind the scenes. First, throughout the recent films, if you pay attention to the wardrobe, Ned consistently wears a very specific blue and yellow jacket. That is the exact, undeniable color scheme of the comic book Hobgoblin. Second, remember that incredibly awkward, entirely unprompted promise Ned made in No Way Home? He looked right at Tobey Maguire's Peter and swore up and down that he would never turn into a supervillain and try to kill his best friend. In cinema, you do not write a line of dialogue like that unless it is deliberate, heavy-handed foreshadowing of the exact opposite happening. Furthermore, in Brand New Day, we actually see Ned actively inventing a Spidey tracker device, desperately trying to figure out who Spider-Man really is. We see his apartment walls entirely covered in Spider-Man posters. He isn't just curious anymore, he is profoundly obsessed.
And that specific brand of obsession draws a direct, haunting psychological parallel to another famous cinematic villain. Do you remember Max Dillon, aka Electro, from The Amazing Spider-Man 2? Max started out as Spider-Man's absolute biggest superfan. He had the posters on his wall, he talked to them, he felt a deeply personal, obsessive connection to the hero who saved him. But the very moment he felt slighted, the exact moment he felt that Spider-Man had disappointed him or forgotten his name, that intense, obsessive love instantly curdled into dangerous, violent hatred. Ned Leeds is walking that exact same psychological tightrope right now. He is the obsessive best friend, dedicating his days and nights to tracking Spider-Man, only to discover that the hero he is completely obsessed with is actually his own best friend, a best friend who intentionally chose to cut him out of the secret. That crushing disappointment is the ultimate trigger.
But wait, you might be asking yourself, Ned is such a sweet, lovable, goofy guy. How does simple emotional hurt turn someone like him into a murderous supervillain? Well, here is the final devastating missing puzzle piece. Untrained magic corrupts the purest of minds. Ned is using a sling ring and tapping into chaotic, ancient mystical energies without any formal knowledge, without any mental discipline, and without the magical protection you'd get from the masters of the mystic arts. This raw power begins to heavily, physically corrupt his mind. It acts as a dark catalyst, a sort of mystical virus, taking his very natural, human feelings of abandonment, betrayal, and anger, and violently amplifying them into pure, unadulterated, villainous rage. The magic literally twists his sweet, loyal personality until everything good is stripped away and only the Hobgoblin remains.
Part 2. The Punisher enters the fight.
Now, I know we've been deep in the dark psychological trenches for a while, but I want to shift the tone to one of the most highly anticipated, crowd-pleasing sequences in the entire film. Amidst all of this personal turmoil and brewing heartbreak, Spider-Man finds himself thrust into a massive, chaotic, street-level battle involving none other than the Hulk. It is absolute carnage. And right when things look their absolute bleakest for Peter, a very unexpected, highly lethal street-level ally enters the fight, Frank Castle. The dynamic here is absolutely phenomenal. We actually find out that MJ is the one who pulled some strings and sent the Punisher to help Spider-Man. When Frank shows up, literally guns blazing, Peter is genuinely shocked, and what follows is some of the most hilarious, perfectly timed banter amidst absolute chaos that we've ever seen.
Spidey is so thrilled that MJ actually sent help, he literally can't contain his excitement. Punisher just stops, looks at him mid-battle and growls, "Are you smiling?" Spidey, totally caught off guard by the question, says, "I have a mask on." And Punisher just deadpans, "No, you're smiling." It is a brilliant, brilliant moment of levity. It perfectly highlights how these characters, even while caught in a massive, life-threatening fight with a rampaging Hulk, still have this incredibly grounded, human and wildly entertaining chemistry. It's moments exactly like these that make the MCU street-level stories so wildly engaging to watch.
All of this incredible narrative weight, the deeply painful, slow-burn character drama between Peter, MJ, and Ned, perfectly combined with the visceral, gritty action of teaming up with the Punisher against the Hulk, it all makes the anticipation for this movie almost unbearable. And the hype is reaching its absolute fever-pitch peak right now because the third and final trailer for Spider-Man Brand New Day is dropping tomorrow. We are finally going to get our last crucial visual clues before the curtain rises on this cinematic masterpiece.
As we wrap up the cinematic explainer, I really want to leave you with a profound thought to carry with you. Over the years, we've seen villains driven by corporate greed, by scientific madness, by a desire for revenge against the entire world. But Spider-Man 5 is setting up something entirely different, something so much more intimate. Peter Parker isn't just going to be fighting some random bad guy trying to take over the city. He's going to be looking through the white lenses of his mask directly into the furious, betrayed eyes of his absolute best friend. A friend he inadvertently broke through his own misguided attempts to protect him. So I have to ask, is Ned Leeds destined to be the most heartbreaking villain Spider-Man will ever face? When you consider the deep emotional stakes and the years of cinematic history we've unpacked today, I think the answer is a resounding, tragic yes. This is a betrayal that will echo through the entire cinematic universe for years to come. Keep your eyes peeled for that trailer tomorrow because the web is getting darker than it has ever been.